Confirmation regarding real estate agent relationship. This form does not constitute a contract for services. And there you would see the little box and it says property address. You would write the property address in that box. And let's continue reading. In the event any party to the real estate transaction is also represented by another licensee who is affiliated with the same company, the broker may assign a licensee to act for each party, respectively, as set forth within the duties owed form, and no confidential information will be disclosed. Okay, and there you would specify if this is such a transaction or not, and you would check off one of those two little boxes. The difference between this form and the duties owed form and the consent to act form is this form is generally not filled out until the time that the offer is going to be presented, because when you're first taking a listing or you're first showing a property, you don't know if you're going to be in the situation of a dual agency or not. So this form pretty much is filled out at the time once the client has decided to write an offer, because now you have two clients or two customers and you know if it's going to be a dual agency relationship or not. Okay, let's continue reading. I or we confirm the duties of a real estate agent, of a real estate licensee, of which has been presented and explained to me or us. Our representative's relationship is, okay, and then the two little boxes, you would specify who is the agent of the seller, and then in the next box, who is the representative of the buyer or tenant. If one agent is representing both, you would write the agent's name on both boxes. If not, then you would write the seller's agent in the first box, the buyer's agent in the second box, buyer or tenant, and you would check off the corresponding box. Okay, let's continue reading. If licensee is acting for more than one party in this transaction, you will be provided a consent to act form for your review, consideration, and approval or rejection. A licensee can legally represent both the seller, landlord, or the buyer tenant in a transaction, but only with the knowledge and written consent of both the buyer, the seller or landlord, and buyer or tenant. 2. A licensee who is acting for the seller landlord exclusively is not representing the buyer tenant and has no duty to advocate or negotiate for the buyer tenant. 3. A licensee who is acting for the buyer tenant exclusively is not representing the seller and has no duty to advocate or negotiate for the seller landlord. So it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're representing the seller but not the landlord, but not the seller, all your fiduciary responsibility lies with the buyer, and vice versa. If you are representing the seller landlord, then your fiduciary responsibility lies with the seller landlord, and you really don't have any obligation to advocate for the other party. Okay, now in the next boxes, you're going to put the brokerage name, so the seller landlord's company, and then the buyer tenant's company, the brokerage name of which the agent belongs to, and then you're going to print the name of the agent, and then you're going to put the date and the time. And then at the bottom, the seller and the seller landlord or the buyer tenant sign the respective boxes. And that's it.